Good morning. Welcome to Modern Psychology Hacks. Oh, my laptop is chugging away. Chill out. I'm not stopping the video. We're going to keep doing this while I fix my fans going off. So, welcome to Modern Psychology Hacks, where we talk about the ways that you can use psychology to rewire your brain to become an absolute legend. And we're going to start off with a quote from James Clear. Oh my gosh, I thought my lamp was about to fall off. I'm using a glass lamp. That would have been bad. Don't ask. You don't want to know what my setup is. It's not good. It's laughably bad right now. Did I read the quote yet? So the quote is from James Clear, who is the author of Atomic Habits, and most of the quotes are going to be from him. I wish I could use other authors, but unfortunately, he's knocking out of the park. He's a great author, and they're all bangers, so I wouldn't want to deprive you of any of that, and I love it. He says that a slight change in your habits can guide your life to a very different destination. So, my intro for this video is that we live in a society where we live in a country also that's a good country, and it's one of the best times in history. And for example, our literacy rate is up, infant mortality is down, life expectancy is up. However, everyone in our country seems to be extremely depressed and anxious and fearful of the future. And my hypothesis is that that is because we are physical beings and we have been trained to live in a digital environment. We've forgotten that we're physical, and we are unable to really do anything about it because we're sort of stuck in this digital, virtual reality we're all living in right now. And we're gonna jump right into why I believe that dopamine is the key to understanding how to make yourself feel better in every possible way. I took my life and turned it around pretty much with this one understanding. Like, this one hack will fix your energy, your motivation. It's unbelievable because it works, and it's very, very simple. So, dopamine and dopamine detoxing. What is it, and why should you do it? Dopamine is the chemical that you get when you do pleasurable actions. So anytime you do anything that you like doing, chances are you're getting a dopamine spike. Now, different actions release different levels of dopamine. Some levels are lower, like, think of it like things that are long-term gratification, like doing homework, I don't know, driving, working out, things related to your future, I suppose. And then there's high dopamine things that give you a lot of stimulation, that are more, what's the other phrase for it? Instant gratification, where they're stimulating and your brain is like, ooh, I like this. It's not that complicated, it's not that hard. This is like playing games on your phone. This is playing video games, watching YouTube, scrolling on TikTok. I can't think of a higher dopamine related task than scrolling on TikTok, because it's not only dopamine, but it's also lowering your attention span, and those go hand in hand. Most instant gratification tasks, you can define them by being things that require a low attention span, like watching 7-second videos. And then a higher attention span related things like working, doing homework, writing an essay, shooting YouTube, is something that's more long-term gratification level tasks, and they're going to be lower in dopamine. Procrastination often appears when you replace a difficult task that you need to do with an easier, more dopamine high task. So for someone just starting out, let's get into a quick example. As you are right now, think about how much do you want to do homework? Any homework. Let's say it's like medium level difficulty. Probably not very much. All right. Now, if you were to deprive your brain of any inputs, any stimulation, and stare at a wall for 10 minutes, if I put my face in the corner right next to the smudge on the wall where I knocked my paint off, moving my dresser around for this thing. And I was to stay there for 10 minutes, I would be very bored. And if you've ever stared at a wall for 10 minutes, it's a long time. I've done it, and it's about 50 times longer than you think it is. So at the end of 10 minutes, imagine you ask yourself again, how much do you want to do homework? I'll bet it's way higher than it was before you did that, because at this point, it beats boredom, and anything could be better than this. So that's the concept of dopamine detoxing right there. Essentially, it's just removing artificial stimulation until you get to the point that any effort you exert will provide you with mental stimulation. It becomes to the point that doing hard things is essentially your only option for increasing pleasure and the amount of dopamine that you're getting. So we're going to go into a video that I watched that is talking about dopamine loading. Matthew Smith is the author of this YouTube video, not author, but he's the YouTuber that made this video. And his video is called Dopamine Loading is the Easiest Way to Get Addicted to Studying. I picked this one because most of my audience is probably students, and we can use dopamine to make studying and focus easier. Here's how. He starts off by saying that most people, when we start our day, I'm gonna say we, because this was me for a very long time. When we start our day, we get on our phones, and without even leaving bed, we start scrolling on our phone first thing in the morning. All right, that is a high dopamine task, and it's gonna spike your dopamine up to here. So you're here in the morning, it's 8 a.m. Then, who knows, like an hour goes by, and you'll start doing homework or something you need to do, and it will go down, and you'll be here, and you'll be doing homework. It's 10 a.m. And wow, you're really not having a very good time. The reason for that is because the difference between these two were pretty big. It's a big difference between scrolling on your phone and doing homework. So you're unsatisfied. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna look for dopamine, you're gonna find it in your phone. And then you're gonna be on Instagram or whatever it is, and it's gonna be up here, and you're like, wow, but then you realize you're procrastinating. So now you're gonna do work again. Now you're doing homework, and then you get an energy drink, and you start listening to music, and then you get on YouTube for like 5 minutes, and then you have to do more homework, and now you're here. And the difference is that you need to pay attention to the spikes and drops in your dopamine throughout the day. And what that does is put your brain in a dopamine state, in a low dopamine state, in a high dopamine state, low, and then it's back and forth, and that is going to drastically decrease your focus. So a way that you can stop doing that is by essentially understanding what it means to cut out dopamine. And the reason why, okay, we're gonna go back. Chasing dopamine, all right, is essentially the pursuit of a pleasure. So if you want to do something, that's where dopamine hits you, right before you go into that pleasure. So it's almost like the old act of hunter-gathering, right? You're just looking for something that's going to give you pleasure, and that whole search is what dopamine is. So dopamine spikes don't just make focus harder in the moment, they also lower your baseline afterward. So think of if you're in the neutral zone, you're doing all right, and then you do a pleasurable activity, but then you stop, or you could keep doing it. I mean, but you're gonna get tired of it, and it's gonna drop. It's actually gonna drop down slightly below where you were in the neutral zone. So now you're in the negative zone, and you're unsatisfied. That's why dopamine and doing instant gratification, pleasurable tasks and things that you like to do over time is fighting a losing battle. Because no matter what, it's going to keep dropping your dopamine lower and lower. And that's going to start to rewire your brain in the wrong way, meaning that you now require more stimulation just to feel normal, just to get up from that low point, right? Whereas if you were to do that differently, then you could start off in a better place and you use dopamine or caffeine or whatever happens, and now you're here, right? So it's a much better option to start your day with something that's low dopamine. This could be taking a shower. The first thing you do when you get up, you stand in a white box and you let the water hit you, and that's about the only stimulation you're getting. Your brain is just there. It's not, as long as you're not playing music in the shower, then you're just there. And you can do this in another way, which is you can just sit and eat breakfast. You can take a slower approach. And Matthew, in the YouTuber, recommends that you put your phone on silent mode or turn off in a drawer in your bedside table. You turn off your alarm and you put it in there immediately afterwards. Then you are set. You're ready to go, and most of the option for quick dopamine is taken out. So imagine also you are in finals week. You're in finals week and you are in crunch mode, right? There's so much you have to study for. You're a little stressed. You don't really have enough time. So you're going to spend your time, you better believe it, studying. So you're studying and you wake up, say you put your phone in the drawer on airplane mode, or you're just stressed, so you're not looking at it. So you're going to start your day and you're going to study. And you're going to be about neutral zone. And then you're going to complete 1 hour of studying, and your dopamine is actually going to go up a little bit. And as you complete tasks that are difficult, your dopamine is going to go up and it's going to last for longer. So as you go throughout the day, the only thing that's really, it's still low. It's not here and then here. It's just kind of like this. So your dopamine is going to stay at a consistent baseline level. And then as you do tasks, it rises. And the only real stimulation you're going to get, provided your phone is still off, is around lunchtime when you eat. So there's different ways that our body gives us natural dopamine. One of those is eating. Andrew Huberman gives 5 other ones, which is sleep, rest. Rest is different than sleep. It's like, imagine you're sitting on your porch watching the sunset, and it's deep non-sleep rest, or non-sleep deep rest, NSDR. Nutrition, morning sunlight, and exercise, movement or non-daily movement, essentially. So those things are going to naturally give you dopamine. And when you do too much dopamine, it puts you in these troughs where doing anything else becomes very, very difficult. So imagine, I'm sure it wouldn't be you, but imagine someone who's lying in bed too much. And they're lying in bed and they've been on their phone and they want to get up. And they've been lying in bed so long that it starts to feel confusing. Have you ever done that, where you lie in bed so long that you're just confused? You're like, why haven't I gotten up yet? It's been hours. So people are thinking like, I've done hard things before. I played hard sports. I've studied constantly 12, 16 hours a day. Why is getting up so hard right now? My answer would be, take a look at your context. The answer for human behavior is always starting with context. Context determines the entire situation of our mental landscape. So the context most likely is that you are laying in bed on your phone with a snack. You're probably playing a video game or watching a video, or doing both and watching a video in the top right corner of your screen, the picture in picture, and also listening to music and also playing a show in the background on your big TV. And who knows, drinking a drink, probably who knows, all kinds of things. And you're still in bed and you've gone from Instagram to TikTok to YouTube Shorts to TikTok to Instagram to messages to Snapchat. And then, to be fair, you did stop for 20 seconds to stare at the ceiling and contemplate life, but then it was right back to Instagram, to Snapchat, to YouTube. And really all you want to do is get up and take a shower, but let's be honest, that seems way harder than just staying in bed and doing one more thing real quick before you get up, right? So this whole situation is starting to be really common for a lot of people. And if high dopamine activities like this, like laying in bed playing iPhone games on your phone, are allowed to continue, your brain will stop experiencing pleasure. This is when you do a dopamine habit and then it drops below baseline, right? And then you do another one and it drops a little lower and then it drops and then it drops and then it drops. And then your brain starts to panic, all right? If you've been doing this for 5 hours laying in bed on your phone, your body will feel restless but not able to get up. That's anxiety. You're basically manually producing anxiety, and your body's gonna feel it, your brain's gonna feel it, but you don't have any motivation. You don't have enough energy to get up. You've been completely sucked dry of all sorts of energy that you could have possibly used, and now you're just here feeling these negative things. So this is more of a cycle, or I would also call it a spiral, where you are doing the same activities expecting a different result, and it's just pushing you further and further into a depression hole. And it's just a spiral that goes one way, and it's down. This is why motivation alone never works unless you understand how dopamine works. So motivation is a limited resource, which we know. So even if you desperately want to do something and you know you need to do something, you won't be able to do it unless you quit being in high dopamine states. All right, my storage ran out because I've been yapping for 15 minutes, but we are going to go right back into it. Motivation for a specific task is directly affected by how much dopamine that task gives you. So Andrew Huberman is the lead scientist of the Science of Wellbeing series, and he does Huberman Lab podcasts, and he's a professor at Harvard. He's good stuff. And he says that the dopamine system doesn't actually care what the pursuit is, only that something is being pursued. This means your actions, whenever you want to do something, that's dopamine right there. Healthy habits and destructive habits activate the same circuitry. So what that means is over time, if you regularly expose yourself to high dopamine behaviors, it will make your baseline dopamine level so low that doing ordinary life behaviors feel impossible. All right. You get a dopamine spike before you do these things, which is important to know for you to resist them. If you want to do a dopamine high activity, you just have to wait it out until the urge goes down. Drug addicts experience dopamine when they see the drug, not while they're taking it or after. All right, let's get into the application real quick. Here's what I did. This is just one example, but there's many, many ways that you can cut out dopamine. If you experience yourself doing something that is overstimulating very often and takes up a lot of time, you should cut it out. We're going to get into the specifics of a dopamine detox, which is more advanced, I suppose, and it's based off of the knowledge of this video. We're going to get into that the next video. But for now, we're going to just pick one thing. The first thing that I picked that was very helpful for me, which I'm wishing I did a long time ago, was cutting out iPhone games. So it was, I guess the way that I started doing it was cold turkey at the beginning, which I always recommend. But if you don't want to go cold turkey, you can do what I did. I took a high intensity game that I was always playing, which was Clash Royale. I took that. That game is a high colors, bright. It's time-based. It's player versus player. It's active. So when you play the game, you're in it for good. I cut that out and I switched it for another game, which I also liked. That's important because I didn't re-download Clash Royale. I was somewhat satisfied with this game called Polytopia. It's like Risk, I guess, where you're just kind of strategizing and moving pieces around, but it's not as urgent. It's still got bright colors and music, but it's not as stimulating. I took that and I replaced that with online chess. Now, online chess was stimulating because it was player versus player. It was something that was time-based and I would get into it. And the problem is that I started playing online chess more than I used to play Clash Royale because I had convinced myself that it was a good thing. So I didn't realize that I wasn't addicted to a game in particular. I was more addicted to the act of sitting on my phone, disassociating from life and procrastinating from the things I needed to do. So what happened is when I had an option for that, even though I didn't love chess, I would play for 1, 2, 3 hours on chess on my phone until I got to the point that I was worse off than I was before. And I had to replace that one with, I think I cut it out for a while, but then now I'm doing Duolingo. So I think that's the action like that I'm happy with, because Duolingo is still learning, but it's not something that I'm going to be doing for 2 hours. The most I've ever done Duolingo is like 45 minutes. And I'm like, if I want to sit on my phone for a little while, I can do this or I can do nothing. And most of the time I choose to do it. And let's be honest, if I had Clash Royale right next to that app, which one do you think I would pick? Probably Clash Royale. But since it's the only option, it's what I do. That's the whole concept of dopamine loading. But your brain needs an easy path to go to in place of these addictions. We're going to talk about starting good habits later, but for now, we've got to get your brain clear and ideally pick some things that are going to get your brain active. So we're going to switch out high stimulation, lots of colors, stressful sort of things for low stimulation, neutral color things, particularly apps. We're going to switch scrolling on TikTok, which is low attention span, to say like watching a YouTube nature documentary, which is longer content. Take something that has a low attention span like that and replace with longer attention span. Prioritize simplicity over flashing colors, prioritize physical over digital, being outside over inside, things like that. We're trying to get our brain to a lower baseline. Also, we're going to go a little extreme in the next video. So if you want to do more than that and really take control of the amount of dopamine you're intaking, then I'll see you in the next video. If not, just start off for now with the application step from this video. I'd recommend going into your notes in the psych hack notes that we've been putting in your note app, or if you can write it down wherever you're taking your notes. And for this video, write one thing that takes up your time that you know you shouldn't be doing, that you can switch out for an easier task. That's going to make it easier to quit rather than just doing it completely. But don't worry, we're quitting cold turkey next video, so enjoy while it lasts.